Hi guys, here we have another case of a journalist not doing their frigging job. So, Tom Swarbrick of LBC had on a former advisor to Nigel Farage, a guy who still hangs around for some reason. I think he's linked to Reform UK, but he used to be in UKIP. Anyway, he wants the UK, of course, to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. And the case that he's trying to use as, once again, an example is an individual who came from Gaza to the UK to get treatment in a private clinic, private healthcare, not taxpayer money, not the NHS funding any of this. This was all provided by a charity coming to the UK to get this treatment, and a family member came with them or wanted to be by their side. And of course, the far right are angry about this because it's somebody coming from Gaza or somebody coming from outside, and they're using the ECHR in order to achieve that. Once again, no taxpayer money was spent on this. This was all funded by charities or by individuals. But listen to how this guy talks about how the UK should leave the European Convention on Human Rights and the arguments he makes for it, and the zero pushback from Tom Swarbrick.
I can understand why, if you're living in the UK, you might want your grandmother or your mother to come to the UK. That's reasonable.
I can understand why she might want that, but I can also understand the frustration of a Home Secretary that is hidebound by the ECHR membership in Article 8. It's not an individual case. Every case that's made by our courts becomes a precedent, and thus your concerns that you mentioned and the Home Secretary's concerns are real. The Home Secretary, of course, has a way around this and can cut through the Gordian knot and leave the ECHR. And also large chunks of the Human Rights Act, which bring the ECHR into our system. So there is a way around it. There is a way of solving this problem, of stopping these ghastly headlines time after time after time, but that's to bite the bullet.
Well, one of the things that people raise in objection is, well, the ECHR, Human Rights Act, guarantees my human rights too, guarantees my protections as well. If you do away with that...
Now, listen to what Tom Swarbrick said here. Guarantees my human rights. Guarantees.
You're doing away with my protections.
You've got this daft idea that before the Europeans gave us the European Court, we had no rights.
You were involved in it too.
Of course we do.
No one is saying that. No one is saying that the ECHR is giving you rights. It's protecting your rights. This guy is trying to sell the idea that the only reason the UK or UK citizens have rights is thanks to the ECHR. No one is actually saying that. What they're saying is it's there to protect your human rights.
We have our legal system. We have the common law. We have 1,000 years of the development of human rights within and liberties within these islands. The idea that we need a bunch of foreign judges to tell us what is a human right or what is our liberty is ridiculous. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that.
Now, unfortunately, and I'll leave a link to if you want to watch the full clip, but Tom Swarbrick did not respond. He did not correct the record here. He did not say, wait a minute, these are protections to human rights. They're not the human rights themselves. The human rights are worth nothing if they're not protected. Nigel Farage could say, I'm going to allow everyone hundreds and thousands of rights. But if they're not going to be protected, they're worth nothing. Look at what's happening in the United States, where Donald Trump is sending people to a gulag without due process. He's denying people their human rights, and he's able to do that because he has the Supreme Court in his pocket. If Nigel Farage was Prime Minister and the UK left the European Convention on Human Rights, your rights would remain, but there would be no external court to protect you from a government who's not going to uphold those rights. The rights are worth nothing unless they're enforced, unless you have somewhere to go. Now, of course, there's no mention of Northern Ireland, never a mention of Northern Ireland. What about the Good Friday Agreement? What about the Human Rights Act in relation to the Good Friday Agreement? It seems as if journalists in Great Britain don't give a crap about Northern Ireland. It seems that politicians in Great Britain don't give a crap about Northern Ireland. Because we never hear about the Good Friday Agreement. We never hear about the connection to the Good Friday Agreement, the connection between the Good Friday Agreement and the ECHR and the Human Rights Act. It's as if it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's not. It's fundamental. These people want to remove these protections for your human rights because they want to be able to push through legislation that will erode these rights. Once again, the rights are worth nothing unless they're being protected. If Nigel Farage is Prime Minister, if Robert Jenrick is Prime Minister, would you trust Nigel Farage or Robert Jenrick to protect your rights? Because if they leave the European Convention on Human Rights, you'll have to hope that Nigel Farage will uphold your rights, will protect them. I don't think anyone with their head screwed on, with a functioning brain, would trust Nigel Farage with their rights. He's a lying charlatan. He's surrounded himself with lying charlatans. So, of course, he's going to erode those rights. Brexit was about stripping away protections for workers, the environment, for standards, in order to satisfy the rich. And they want to go a step further. It's never enough, is it? They always want to leave something. Leave the European Union, leave the United Nations, leave the WHO, leave whatever. In this case, leave the European Convention on Human Rights, in order to strip away protections for people. Remember, it's not the rights themselves, it's the protections that they have. The media need to wake up, smell the coffee and realise what's going on, and they need to step up to the plate and push back.